Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Howard Zemsky. I have the honor of serving as Governor Cuomo's Commissioner of Economic Development and President and CEO of Empire State Development. And I've had the pleasure and privilege of being part of a historic trade mission to Cuba recently, along with Doctors Johnson and Lee, two newly minted celebrities here in Buffalo. Unbelievable. It was, I have to say, it was quite an amazing trip. And congratulations to everyone at Roswell for this collaboration. And I will spare you my trying to explain the collaboration to the experts. I will not. In just a while, introduce Dr. Johnson, and she'll introduce Dr. Lee to talk more about the collaboration. But I want to say a few things about Global New York and the governor's global initiative, and just a couple of things about the trip itself before I turn it over to the experts. You know, the world is a big place, and America and New York in particular provided opportunity to people for a very long time. My family is fourth generation New Yorkers now. My grandparents came here 100 years ago, and I know many of you have similar experiences, and we provided all kinds of opportunity, economic opportunity for so many people. The world has changed a lot in 100 years, and it's gotten a lot bigger, and 92% of the world's economic growth now happens outside of our borders. 95% of the population lives outside our borders, and it's a great opportunity for this state, which excels in so many areas. And I want to talk about just a couple of those areas. We are number one in international tourism, number one in the country. We welcome over 14 million international visitors a year. We are number two in international students, over 100,000 international students to our institutions of higher learning in New York State. We are number three in foreign direct investment. That alone supports over 400,000 jobs in New York State. And we export in New York $86 billion of goods and services. So the global economy for New York State already supports about 15% of our economy, which is well over 1 million jobs. So it's a great opportunity. We have great strengths, as you can tell, in all these areas. We lead the country in many of them. We're in the top 4 in all of them. And they're all an important part of our go-forward strategy for growing jobs and investment in New York through the global footprint that we have. Before, I want to talk a little bit about Cuba itself. We are the first state to lead a mission to Cuba. And once you're first, you're always first. It meant a lot to the Cubans. No one can ever be first ahead of us anymore. And it meant a lot. I mean, I have to tell you just my own personal observations, having spent a lot of time in a short time with the Cubans that we were with. It was very meaningful to them. And New York means a lot. Our history means a lot, and the support of the governor meant a lot. It continues to build on the momentum and the President Obama's decision to normalize relations in December, his recent meeting with Raul Castro, his recommendation to take Cuba off the list of state-sponsored terrorist countries, and of course, the president's stated objective of removing the embargo. And of course, the Cubans are very hopeful that the embargo gets lifted. You can just sense the optimism. It's been a long, I think, hard road for Cuban people. And putting aside for a moment all the remarkable historical events that have been part of the U.S.-Cuban relationship, when you're with people, and this won't surprise you, they're people, right? I mean, you could relate to them no different than you could relate to any other people that you meet. And they have aspirations for themselves, for their families, and of course, economic aspirations are an important part of realizing that. So it was amazing trip that way. The number of sectors that were represented on the trip included transportation. JetBlue was there. They are very eager to provide regular service to Cuba. It's clear what the trajectory of the relationship is and the opportunity that was there. They met with the ministers of travel and tourism. The Plattsburgh Airport in New York was there. They, as I was there, wearing a few different hats, but as chair of NFTA, we do a lot of business here in Western New York with Canadians. The more destinations that we can support to the Caribbean, to Cuba, and elsewhere, the more business we do with Canadians. And of course, the Plattsburgh Airport was represented on the trade mission. They'd love to do more business with Canadians as well. Not so much Torontonians, but folks from Montreal and from the province of Quebec. So they see the opportunity. JetBlue sees the opportunity. There have been some restrictions lifted on travel. There have been some restrictions lifted on financial services and things of that nature. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to use a credit card in Cuba right now. MasterCard was on the trip. They were enthused and excited by the time that they spent with their Minister of Finance in Cuba and then with the central bank the next day. They are eager to pursue opportunities in Cuba. Dairy products were represented, Chobani and Cayuga milk ingredients. They buy a lot of powdered milk in Cuba, so opportunities for New York State companies in dairy. Really nice gentleman who was CEO of a company called Infor, Enterprise Software for Healthcare Institutions. He found a distributor in Cuba who wants to sell his software products, and as he said, they inked the deal over some rice and beans the next night. So it was great. SUNY was there, and I mentioned the important role of international students and how important it is for our students to have these multicultural collaborations. So from all respects, I think it was an amazing trip. Every person who went on that trip, all of the delegates from our side, from the New York side, and Candace and Kelvin will confirm this, were so proud to have participated and found their time so extremely worthwhile. And everybody has initiatives that they're working on and opportunities that they see. It's just that your amazing team of Doctors Johnson and Lee got there first. So they set the model for everyone else on the delegation, but everyone is proud to participate with the governor in this. It was a proud moment for me personally. ESD was involved in the planning and implementation.